and welcome to the latest episode of our Topic of the Month series from Packaging Europe. This month we will be focusing on connective and active packaging. I'm pleased to be joined by our expert Christoph Czaplicki, Chief Strategy Officer at Fresh Inset, and he'll be sharing all his insights on this particular topic. I'm Libby Munford, Editor at Packaging Europe. So welcome, Christoph. Thank you for joining me today. Perhaps we can start by you just telling me a little bit about your position at your company and what it is your company focuses on.
My name is Kris. I'm one of the founders of the Fresh Inset company, and the Fresh Inset company is a European-based company that develops the technology to extend the freshness and the quality of the fresh produce, but also beyond, so including the cut flowers, potted plants, fresh herbs, basically a whole range of let's say, fresh produce category and cut flowers.
We're focusing on connective and active technology today. Would it be possible for you to tell me about your focus on technology in this area?
Yeah, so our reason for focusing in that area was because we identified that there is a technology that has a hidden potential, and we would like to reveal the full potential of an active ingredient that is an antagonist. And I'll just need to take a step back to maybe explain that ethylene is a natural plant hormone. It's a gas molecule released by the plants whenever the stress occurs. And the stress occurs when there's a drought, when there's a frost, when there is a harvest. And basically, once the crops are harvested, they release a lot of the ethylene, and ethylene triggers all the ripening and degradative processes, basically. And there has been an ethylene antagonist, also a gas molecule, and this gas molecule is almost identical to the ethylene molecule. And the way it works is that it binds to the ethylene receptors and it blocks them. It works basically like a key inside the lock. Active ingredient is attached to the ethylene receptors, it blocks them, and therefore the signal for the ripening and degradative processes is delayed. That's how it works. This compound was extremely successful when it comes to and transform the apple industry. Simply, we decided to work on that and reveal the hidden potential of the molecule, because so far it could only be used in room applications. So basically, you keep the apples in cold storage for months, and you require the control atmosphere rooms in order to make that treatment of this active ingredient effective. And then we thought that how could that be possible to make it different, make it and reveal the full potential of that active ingredient for basically whole spectrum of different crops. And we discovered, or we were working on the invention that is a globally patented solution on how to make that room application so we figured out that the way to do it is to find a new delivery mechanism which could help deliver this active molecule for all other crops. And the way to do it, we figured it out, is this through the packaging. And that basically was the foundation of our work on what we call right now Vidre Plus technology. That is the technology that enables us right now to decommoditize packaging by applying this Vidre complex on all types of films that later on help to release this gas molecule and simply serve in this first generation. So basically, it works the same way, but it's the mean of delivering the active ingredient is right now packaging.
And how long has this been in use within the packaging industry?
So basically, we started first work on the features of that complex so that we can apply it onto different base materials, so polypropylene, polyethylene, PET, but also fiber-based type of materials, so paperboard, cardboard. And the first step was to prepare this complex and being able to apply it. And it took us, quite a few years to develop it so that it can keep that consistent quality throughout the manufacturing process and applying that into the films. It is actually the 5th year of our journey to change the packaging industry by delivering the solution.
And what would you say are the real possibilities and scope of this technology? Can it be applied all across the industry in different sectors? And what's the possibility for the future of this technology?
Yeah, so basically, I would say that Inset as a company delivers this revolutionary technology cross industry throughout the whole supply chain without any significant reorganization. We can apply it by using all types of films, including polypropylene, including polyethylene, PET, and fiber-based type of packaging. While applying it into the packaging, this is where, let's say, the magic starts. Basically, just after doing that, working, of course, with the packaging companies or label converters or base material producers for labeling industry, we then the next step is when produce is kept or storage in the packaging, the technology works seamlessly, meaning what triggers the release of active ingredient is the humidity that comes from the packaging. This is where the active ingredient starts to release. And the mode of action I explained, which is then binds to the ethylene receptors and blocks them. And this is how the ripening process and degradative processes are slowed down or stopped.
My next question is a bit trickier. I'd like to ask you about what challenges and roadblocks you've come across with this technology entering into the packaging industry.
So basically, the challenges are about the last mile delivery. So as we've been working with multiple labeling converters, now also working with producers, we know 99% of what is required to apply our Vidre complex onto different base materials. But every packaging company has different setups, and therefore it requires basically fine-tuning at large scale. So while we introduce the first line of our products, which are functional stickers, currently we are developing the packaging that also has our technology embedded into the film. You cannot go into small-scale trials with packaging companies that usually have big infrastructure and equipment. Therefore, anything you do with them is not in a small scale, which sometimes is helpful to fine-tune before you get into, let's say, commercial product. So I would say that the challenges are within the fine-tuning and the last mile that is required to get the product that is fully functional. If you can imagine the films being kilometers long, then you need to make sure that the consistency and the quality is at the beginning of the roll, in the middle, at the end of the roll, especially that our active ingredient is very potent. We need to make sure that it always releases exact amount from certain, what we call active surface area, and therefore we can make the effective treatment per volume of the box to be treated or packaging to be treated, but also crop. There are also some differences between the crops when it comes to there's sensitivity to the ethylene. So the more sensitive crops require less of an active ingredient, the less sensitive require a bit more. I would say that the major challenge is just to get that final last mile fine-tuned, but that has to be done with the packaging company.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to your customers, obviously you're based in Poland. What's your reach across Europe when it comes to commercial aspects?
Yes. So basically, currently, we started with the Latin countries, basically because the very first need of the end users, our end users are growers and the packers, was coming from those countries that export in majority, they export their fresh produce. And these are the Latin countries, so Brazil, Chile, Peru, Ecuador, Colombia, because of flowers, but also, avocados and other crops. Then the largest markets for us, there was North America, particularly the US. Then we started to move and run trials and finally becoming commercial with our partners in Europe and ultimately other markets that produce the fresh produce. So the markets such as in the MENA region, Morocco, Egypt, South Africa, and now we are also in that phase of legitimization of our technology in Australia and New Zealand, hopefully soon moving forward to Southeast Asia. So basically, we started from Latam, then we moved to the US, and then we came back to Europe. Currently, our technology has been introduced to growers packers in Europe, in Italy, in Spain, in France, also in Poland, but also in UK, working with retailers, but also the growers packers from UK.
That is an interesting journey, but definitely makes sense considering what you offer. My next question is kind of the key one that's on most people's lips within packaging when it comes to sustainability. What does active packaging mean for sustainability, and how does it help? There's lots of different materials you can use. What is the key to active packaging when it comes to the carbon footprint of a product?
Thank you for that question. In the respect of what we offer to the package industry, I guess if I may answer to that question as a very last, but maybe listing some of the features of our technology that helps the packaging to get involved, ultimately have a new category of the functional active packaging product. It is because we impact across the supply chain. So it means that we help growers and the packers to cut crop waste basically by extending the produce freshness, ensuring more harvest reaches the market. Then at the wholesale level, we cut the markdowns, we maintain top quality appearance. So basically, again, we'll sell more products, have a higher value. And we prevent, again, from the food waste, from food loss on different layers. It's not only about the shrink, it's of course what it is an ultimate result. In some of the fresh produce categories, our technology helps to prevent water loss. Basically, you have more produce, more kg of a produce that you can sell. When it comes to transport, using our technology enables long distance transport while preserving the freshness, and in many cases, especially from those countries that are exporting the fresh produce, help them to expand to new markets, and cutting costs and emissions. In some cases, for example, when we consider cut flowers, which are mainly air fried, now you can consider that in some cases you can use the sea freight, which is simply cheaper and also more sustainable. Then with the retail lever, the way that we impact retail is that we boost the profits by extending shelf life, reducing shrink, improving inventory turnover. There's another feature that worth to mention, because in some cases we extend the shelf life from days to weeks to months, depending on the lifespan of the crop. For example, blueberries shipped from Peru require the longest possible shelf life to meet the customers, the quality of the produce, and the customers expect the highest quality versus, for example, the berries that are European berries, and they do not need that long shipment. However, for many growers packers, that can be used as an inventory management tool, because they can simply keep it from the peak of the season to the end of the season, or even beyond, and have highest quality berries and offer them on the market with a different price. Ultimately, of course, consumers are also satisfied with high quality produce. These are the impacts across the supply chain. And this is also how we transform supply chain in an efficient way. Just maybe listing again those arguments: inventory management, preventing water loss, reducing markdowns. This is a visible freshness and quality appearance. We reduce the shrink, reduce the rejections, we keep the higher class of appearance. And for all who are involved in that process, there is high return on investment. All in all, these are all the factors why to use the Vidre Plus technology. Answering your question directly, the way we are sustainable is that any type of a packaging made of a film can transform into the film that has sustainable and freshness protection features. Packaging companies can benefit from that fact. We are agnostic when it comes to the films being used as a base material to produce the final packaging. However, knowing that in the industry there are also a lot of challenges regarding sustainability, they can claim that they have functional packaging that prevents the food from waste. Therefore, it helps to decrease the carbon footprint in this respect, simply because every single kg of a produce has its carbon footprint metric So if we reduce any kg from being wasted, this is how we also decrease the carbon footprint.
That's really interesting. So what I gleaned from that is it's good news for the consumer, but it's also good all along the supply chain, even for the farmers and the growers to use this technology.
So basically it starts from the growers and the packers. We of course work with the largest in that segment, but at the same time, if you consider smaller growers, whereas they didn't have so far the required infrastructure to storage their crops and preserve the freshness and the quality, now it becomes possible for them. And also what becomes possible for the packaging industry, in many cases, the packaging that was considered a commodity can become a specialty. The challenges are about the last mile, but it does not require significant reorganization. You don't have to build a new line to use our technology. We are using existing equipment at the partner level to apply our technology within the existing processes, for example, printing different logos and inks.
And my next question for you, I'd like to look at the regulatory challenges. How do you navigate the complex food safety laws, environmental regulations on a global scale?
Yeah, it's a very good question, of course. It's not that it is one rule, apply them all. When the US market is considered, our technology we have that FDA GRAS status. So that is under, let's say, this is the regime under which we are operating in the US. When it comes to the European market, GLAS is a technology used for storage and transport of fruits and vegetables. The technology and finished products are safe for food contact and comply with the regulations of the European Commission, the specific regulations that are the ones that are, that refer to materials and articles intended to come into contact with food, or active and intelligent materials and articles intended to come into contact with food. Our process is within the good manufacturing practice for materials and articles intended to come into the food. So basically, I would say all raw materials used in manufacture of Vidre Plus are approved for contact with foods and comply with the relevant EU regulations, among others, Commission regulation. It's a complicated one, so I needed to remember that number 10/2011. So basically, we are, when it comes to Europe, we are aligned, we are compliant with the European regulations regarding intelligent materials and articles intended to come into food contact. When it comes to the US, we are aligned, or we are compliant with the FDA GRAS status that allows us to use our technology on packaging, basically. And when it comes to other markets, they are similar wise, but of course, every single one has a similar route to the market, similar, let's say, regulatory pathway, and we follow that route one by one. Now also being improved in Argentina and progressing on other markets as well, such as Brazil, to be expected pretty soon, in a couple of weeks. In Peru, we are already approved as well, and progressing on other markets and expecting to have that regulatory compliance in the matter of next weeks to months, especially on the major target countries.
Mm-hmm. What does the future look like for your technology? What's your outlook for the next, say, 5 to 10 years?
We hope that we can disrupt and commoditize the flexible and cardboard packaging industries by empowering films and paper cardboard that will carry our technology. We hope that it will become feasible because we're able to do it seamlessly without reorganization. That is one of the key unique selling points of our technology. Basically, we are able to make every existing type of a fresh produce packaging and label into a smart version. So we hope to illustrate how it can work. We like to say it's like Intel Insight. So basically, we deliver the technology to packaging industry that has a reach out, that has a customer base, and now can offer the functional product that helps to preserve the freshness and the quality of the fish produce. And for those packaging companies, help to get the product that can have also for them a higher margin. They can differentiate on the market by having this technology embedded. We can transform the packaging industry for the fresh produce categories, including cut flowers and potted plants, by delivering Vidre Plus, embedding it into technology, and helping our partners to gain something that is unique on the market.
Well, thank you, Christoph, for answering all my questions today. Is there anything you think we haven't covered by my questions?
All the questions were great, and I hope that I've managed to answer them in a comprehensive way. I think that I'd like to maybe add to what has been said before, that we strongly believe that on the European level, we can help to deploy that EU Farm to Fork strategy and objectives, which basically we hope that functional and sustainable packaging solutions can contribute to targeted reduction of food waste. The means that we have to do that is just by having Vidre Plus applied into packaging, and therefore we can reduce the food loss. We can provide the sustainable consumption packaging that reduces spoilage and enhances product quality. We are all with the sustainable materials aligned with our technology, and we help to reduce the food waste. So basically, we believe that on where we are right now, currently working with the tier 1 companies, but also smaller ones, local champions as well, it helps us to let's say, to bring the technology into the market in a fast pace, as ultimately that helps every single stakeholder of a supply chain, from growers, packers, packaging companies, retailers, and ultimately the customers.
Brilliant. Thank you once again, Christoph, and for sharing your expertise with our audience. Hopefully we've all gained some more knowledge on connected and active packaging.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.